Hello and welcome back to New Meta Podcast. I think this is episode 191, maybe 192, but it's kind of a special episode. It's a TI preview episode. No Adam this week, he's off, out of town, but I thought, we can't miss a TI preview pod. So me and Marco are here in a dual capacity, to talk about Last Chance Qualifier, talk about the upcoming group stage, and we'll do another podcast at the end of the group stage, previewing the main event, and then probably the next one after that will be post-event, unless we want to do like an impromptu... Oh, actually, there's such a big gap, isn't there?
Well, there's two events, yeah, so there's the first arena and then the second arena. So we'll have a pod in the run-up to the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm. When you say the first arena and the second arena, presumably it's the same arena.
No, I think it's two different arenas.
Seriously? That's
I think
nuts.
so, yeah.
That's nuts. Okay. Well, anyway, welcome to the pod, Marco. You already announced yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, I think we won't do games this time. We'll just crack on, and maybe we can mention some stuff if they have popped up in our games, like when we talk about heroes and what's going on, but... Last Chance Qualifier is over. We have our two teams, Team Liquid and Team Secret, both the EU West teams. Are you happy about that, first of all, before we talk about the actual content, the actual games?
Yes, I had, for my predictions, which were partly preference, I think I had Liquid and T1, which is kind of harsh on Secret, but now Secret are through as well. I am happy for Puppy. I forgot that he was every TI.
Yeah.
And so he's maintained that record of every TI, and for the only person to have that is a pretty cool medal. Mm-hmm. And I don't really care for the rest of Secret, but Puppy I'm happy to get behind. I think it's sad that Anna and Thompson didn't make it. I know I'm a semi-OG hater, but I think it would have been jokes to have Anna rock up at TI again, and Thompson was doing some funny stuff in the mid lane until he started picking Tiny, which I saw you played 3 games of, but maybe we'll ignore that.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy as well, all things considered. It's pretty fun to have teams that you're familiar with, players you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely no complaints there. It's probably a good sign also for the region as a whole to have both of the teams come through. And these are teams that are not exactly crushing EU. Secret got bashed hard by Entity in the qualifiers. So it's kind of interesting to see them come through. I've been really impressed with Liquid. A general comment to the Last Chance Qualifier is it was so enjoyable, even just watching highlights. And having watched it, I'm so excited for 12 hours of TI action day on day, because the games were so good, such good quality. And I feel like at the start of this recent patch, I don't know if it's because I had a few bad in-game experiences of really one-sided hubs which dragged for ages and were really painful. I feel like I saw some bad games, one-sided or just long and uninteresting. Maybe it was because they weren't competitive, but these Last Chance Qualifier games have been mega, maybe aside from Team Liquid, they have been seriously quality. And it feels like even though the game length is going fairly long, it feels like the meta is we hit the mid-game and we skirmish and fight like there's nothing else to do, and we just go head to head for 20 minutes until a team finally gets an edge and is able to kind of win the game. It never felt like, because the games go long, there's a lot of split push or side push or dodging or anything like this. It felt, watching all the highlights, and I know the highlights show you the action, but it felt like quite a lot of high score, high kill games and lots of action and just quality Doge as well. Mm-hmm. I actually think there was quite a lot of variety in game length as well. I feel like recently there's been so many tournaments where every game's between 30 and 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. Every game's 32 minutes. Here, actually, apart from maybe like I know Team Liquid and VP at the end had like some one-sided games, but there are games that were going like, there was a game that went like 19 minutes, games that were going like 58, 60 minutes, plenty of games in the 30s, plenty of games in the 40s. It was a good variety. I didn't see too many like crazy comebacks, but I did see some games that were close for like a long time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like I'd seen some earlier in the patch where it was a game which is long but consistently one-sided is quite dull. Where it felt like you were always watching games where, apart from the stomps, and Team Liquid did have some stomps, and in the Secret VP they did sometimes have one-sided games, but I felt like the majority were pretty close and competitive, and just kind of full of action, and it felt really entertaining. What I was watching, and to Liquid, I mean, Secret went 2-0 in the last two series, so I guess I watched more Liquid games because they were in the lower bracket, but it felt like the ones they won, they were really strong, like dismantling teams with the playstyle, and it seemed like they found these drafts which really fit their style. The Enigma pick, or Enigma ban, has been tier 1, but then you've got these Shadow Fiends and Pudges and the Venomancer trademark of Zai coming out. Boxy's not a player I would have really rated. He's been playing POS 4 on the Clockwork, been doing massive bits. The laning of Liquid I think is really interesting. Often they're having Boxy on a melee clock in the safe lane, protecting Mickey or Matu, who's on often a bit of a vulnerable core, like a Shadow Fiend, or sometimes they've had Syllabur, maybe that's been mid, but they've had this POS 5 meaty support in the form of Boxy really protect the lane. And then in the off lane, you've had Insania on a weak support, but one that can do bits such as a Disruptor, who then links up with a POS 3 Veno, who's also quite aggressive. And even just that very basic laning decision and then execution has been so strong out of the Liquid team, and it feels like they've found a mould which they do really well in.
I think so. We'll get to their chances going forward in a bit, but before we get there, let's just maybe like dust off this last chance qualifier. I don't know if you saw how many games VP had to go to TI. Did you see that? They had like
no.
They've had 5 series, and if they'd won any of them, they'd go to TI. So,
what?
So because they almost got there on points. If they'd won a series at the Arlington Major, they would have got there, and they didn't. Then they went to lower bracket, and if they'd won that series at Arlington Major, they would have qualified on points. So that's 2. Then they got to the final of EU qualifiers for TI and didn't win that series. Then they got to the upper bracket final of this qualifier and didn't win. They would have won. They would have gone to TI if they'd won, and then they played Liquid, and they would have gone to TI if they'd won. So they've lost. They lost 5 series that any of them would have taken them to TI. So that's a rough one.
Wowza.
Yeah, and I think they got slapped in like every series as well, like 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and then one that was like 2-1 or something. But yeah, pretty nasty because they were looking quite good. It's interesting to see some of the analysis as well, like people hating on GPK or like the mental game of VP.
I saw a bit of GPK. What was that?
So a lot of players were flaming him because
he was in pubs, all chatting or something.
No, not that. Well, maybe, but the reason they were hating on him is because in the games versus Liquid, he was like queuing up like Shadow. He was like queuing up Shadow Amulet Midas like in his quick buy, and then had like a really kind of like a really sloppy death. Yeah. And then like was spamming the like ha 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 voice line, and like a lot of the pros were saying like that's like bad morale, like bad energy vibes. Like
the team.
If you're like looking at your mid morph who's like meant to carry you, and you're seeing like Midas, Shadow Amulet queued up, it's like even though you know he's not going to buy Shadow Amulet and AFK, it's still like bad vibes. And also like he was just saying, like mentally it just wasn't there.
It's a shame that, because I feel like GPK has always been touted as a mega talented player, and it's never quite broken into any. I mean, they had 5th to 6th in last TI, which is a very strong finishing, losing to Team Spirit. But yeah, to get 5th, 6th at last TI and then not even make it to the next one is very, very poor.
Yeah, especially in the EU East region, where it's not traditionally that stacked, right? It's like, you got Spirit now, which kind of sucks for VP, but other than that, who else have you got coming out of East? Bet Boom, yeah.
Is there... I think there is only 2 from...
Is it? Yeah, Spirit
Eastern
got in on
Europe.
points, and then Bet Boom on the qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Should we talk about some of the heroes then, and then we'll just go on to TI, the actual TI. So, most contested was Marcy, 100% pick ban rate, followed by Enigma very close behind on 97 and Undying on 92. So they're the top 3, and they're the only ones above 90. Do you have thoughts on any of this? I mean, you mentioned the Enigma. I felt like we saw a lot of Undying, and Marcy was just banned all the time.
Yeah, the Marcy one. So when I was watching these highlights of the latter stages, I was looking at the drafting, and I feel like Marcy wasn't... And it was really the first phase bans I was interested in. I feel like Marcy wasn't really first phase banned, but given she was banned in 86 games, I'm sure there will have been ones where it was first phase. Okay, 17 picks, basically, I never saw her. Because, yeah, that's a pretty low pick count.
All those picks were like early group stage, like early stuff. It like never made it in the later games. You never see it.
Yeah, so people just... I've seen Gork play the carry Marcy, and I've tried it myself, and with the changed... I mean, is that what people are scared of?
I think they're scared of the fact that it's a flex. You know, it's still really strong POS 4 or POS 5. You know, just in a support role. So it's really good for flexing, which makes it annoying to draft against, and also it's like the best. It's like the best, hero. It's like super strong hero just for ganking and stuff. I think people are mostly playing it for.
Really?
But, like, it's very first pickable, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot good with it. Yeah, like you say, initiation stun from a million miles and a bit of a save. The E... Does the E dispel still, or did that get changed?
That's a talent.
That's a talent. So yeah, I mean, decent hero. It's interesting that it was not even... I guess it's an evolution that has to happen. Eventually, she won't be banned every game.
Eventually the TI meta will develop where other heroes become like really strong, and then they'll be like, well, should we leave Marcy in and ban this other hero that's
experimentation? Yeah.
To be fair, I do think it's almost exclusively for, to be fair. Okay. I haven't really seen it. I can't remember a game where I saw it won this tournament, but there may well have been.
Yeah. So I've been trying to see if she comes out. I think the Enigma one is more... always less surprising, perhaps. I'd been seeing the Dota Pro tracker, loads of Enigmas, the game's going long, the laning. It feels like it's a patch for Enigma. Yeah, but then
you know what you're getting, right? You're gonna have a strong laner that denies XP to your one. I say strong laner, like he actually is a pretty good laner. He's not a weak laner. Obviously, he's going to struggle against some, but like these pros are very good at using Eidolons and like that stuff, and he's certainly fine just by virtue of having demonic conversion. And then also later game, you're going to get black hole, and then you're going to get 2 black holes. And also it like forces answers. You know, if you first pick Enigma, the enemy need to get some sort of Enigma counter in. Yeah,
draft wise, it forces a certain draft, doesn't it? I think there's the shard as well from the 7.32 patch with the increased Malefice stun duration and create an Eidolon per tick. It's quite a good shard. I think it's higher impact than the previous shard, which was that black hole pull.
Oh yeah.
Which I've never rated. I know it's
really. I rated that.
I know it's a bit annoying, but if you think even if you go, its impact is equivalent to this Malefice stun duration new one. Well, you're casting Malefice stun 4 times a fight.
Yeah.
3 times a fight, perhaps. You're versus the black hole. So I do think that shard is net improvement.
Natural Wraith Pack buyer as well, which is nice.
Yeah, Wraith Pack's fucking boring, but it seems like it's a necessity. And yeah, Enigma loves it. Yeah, so it's interesting seeing the big team fight heroes come out, because with Enigma banned so much, I feel like Tide, if we look at Tide stats, yeah, Tide didn't get picked that much. I feel like there was a lot of games in the latter stages where Tide started coming out. I feel like and I saw an interesting game where it was kind of Tide versus Enigma, and it felt like the Tide was doing more work with Ravage versus Black Hole, because the Ravage's AoE is bigger and it's not a channel, so it's easier to jump and get it off, whereas the Black Hole, yeah, you force a certain kind of draft, but at the same time you can deal with it if you're ready for it. So that was kind of interesting to see the difference between those two.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Tide did see more and more as it went on. Also, I saw a lot of Tusk. And it's interesting the way people play it now. I guess it's always been this way, but they really emphasize that, like, punch into snowball, like blink stun. The hero's almost like a blink stun.
It is, yeah.
It's just like blink punch, and then while they're in the air, you snowball for the chain stun.
Yeah.
It gives Roche, but also obviously it does all that normal lane stuff that's really annoying in the early levels.
Yeah.
But it's almost just like you pick it, BKB piercing, like puncheroo, pretty strong, and that's got a good win rate as well. Interestingly, I'll mention Pudge as well. 77% win rate on Pudge. The hero is better than Marcy in win rate.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I feel like Liquid did a lot of Pudge and they made it work. They drafted with it. If you've got set up with a slow or a stun, they made it look good. The Tusk, I did see some mid Tusk.
Yeah, I saw a couple.
Was that?
Yeah.
Did Thompson do mid Tusk or?
GPK did a mid Tusk.
GPK, it was VP, wasn't it? That was a bit rogue, but cool, I guess. Yeah.
How do you think these heroes will adapt going into TI? Because I have a theory, and this goes against all the pros, so it's probably wrong. But I have a theory that I don't think Primal Beast is going to be. I think it's going to fall away.
Yeah, but I think that's true. I think they've been figured out Primal Beast over this last chance qualifier.
It doesn't seem that impactful later on.
Yeah,
for a 3, but I don't really understand. Well, I do understand what the idea is of Primal Beast, right? You get BKB, you've got this insane long range stun initiation. It's only like a bump stun. Then you run around, with trample for lots of damage, and you also have this like bash, bash, bash stun. So it's quite simple, and it's very effective. But
it's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage, yeah.
So from the mid, when you saw Thompson play it, he was like 7-0 at 10 minutes every time he played Primal mid, because you rotate to a side lane, initiate from 2,000 range, and then trample does 1,000 damage at minute 10. Maybe like 700 damage literally at minute 10 from trample. Sure. Unbelievable amount of damage, but then like you say, it does feel like it dropped off when you start getting 4 staff or BKBs. But then also I do feel like, I reckon its win rate declined over the tournament as people started picking heroes with, it's like the Tusk, if BKB piercing stun, or a clock where you can hook shot or cog and interrupt, buying 4 staffs and just escaping kiting the Primal Beast that bit better. I feel like teams are starting to adapt hero and item wise to negate all of its damage, and it does a crap ton of damage, such that 53% win rate by the end of the tournament isn't that phenomenal. And I think teams won't be as scared to not ban it.
Another interesting one is this. Undying, because it's a 3. It's like a 3 and a 5.
Yeah,
and I wonder how viable it will be as a 3 going forward, because in the games I saw it get played as 3, it felt like it is liable to become a bit foodish, like later on.
Yeah.
I don't know if the game trends towards slower, then maybe Undying 3 will still be a thing. But if it trends towards longer, I think you get a lot of what you want from Undying from the 5 anyway.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that trending longer, when the fights start happening, 20 minutes to literally 40 minutes is, or 20 minutes to 40 minutes, it feels like the games are skirmish heavy. I feel like Undying wants really to be skirmishing as a unit from like minute 14 to 24 kind of thing. But when that's not the case, I don't think a pos 3 dirge is what you want to be, is what you want to have at 20 minutes to 30 minutes in that fighting. I feel like the game has almost gone a little bit, like the mid game's gone later. So even though the whole game is longer, it feels like you farm for quite a while until 20 minutes, and then you go constant fighting. I don't think he's that great as a 3 when you're fighting at 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Like at 10 minutes, if he's running down your towers, he's a monster. 15 minutes, he's a monster. But yeah, I didn't feel convinced with the 3 going later in the game. I guess a bit of a slow hero, literally movement wise, and the tombstones are big on cooldown. It's not like the Primal who's running around every 20 seconds, or Veno's got constant pressure and slows and oppression, things like this.
I think Marcy Enigma, Morphling, they're here to stay. I think SF, I've seen a lot of that, and it seems really good.
Yeah,
it sort of depends on what other heroes are in the pool, because like SF's going to be a hero that's going to have a problem versus some. I actually think Lesh is going to be. Here's my hot take: Lesh is going to be sick, because I've seen Lesh in some games and it's been unbelievably strong, and it seems to solve a lot of problems that some of these drafts have. And it's got high uptime. You know, it's just the mana, I guess, is an issue, but other than that, and I think there are some really sick Lesh players in TI, so I wouldn't be surprised if that comes in a bit more.
I think it was interesting seeing Sniper. You happy to see Sniper?
Yeah, that's not usual. You don't usually see Sniper come out of TI.
So I feel like you have a lot of team fight heroes in play. So a Shadow Fiend, I think he's not really. I think his ult adds a lot in a team fight, but then he's just standing behind the back line and hitting. Sniper stands behind the back line and hits. And then I feel like a lot of the heroes you're seeing are like skirmish warriors, like a Disruptor or a
Undying Primal Beast as well.
Undying Primal Beast, Shaker. These heroes where they can like excel at killing 2 or 3 or disabling 2 or 3 heroes at once. Silencer has been picked a lot, 20 times. Not the best win rate, 30%, but again, it's that kind of. I feel like you want a lot of these heroes which are able to do big team fights, and often that means you then get like a hyper carry in the back line who sits behind all this frontline control and disruption. And so I feel like the Shadow Fiend has been perfect for that, and laning quite strongly with, once you hit level 5, level 3 raises, it's a lot of damage. So yeah, I thought it was interesting seeing Sniper and Shadow Fiend.
Alright, let's move to TI itself, the actual group stage, which begins tomorrow. So if you're like an ultra fan of the pod, maybe you'll listen to this before you start watching groups, because hopefully this will come out on the Friday night. Right, I mean, we've got the 2 groups, Group A and Group B. We've no idea why the teams are in Group A or why they're in Group B.
Yeah.
But they are. How do you want to do this? How do you want to go through these teams? Do you want to go group by group, or are you like dying to talk about a certain team or something? Or
not dying to talk about a certain team. I'm happy to go group by group.
Let's start with Group A then. So in Group A, we have 10 teams in each group, so we've got 20 teams at TI, which is 2 more than you usually have. You usually have 18, and 1 goes home from each group. But now you've got 2 going home from each group. So it's actually a little bit more... I don't know, it's tough. Like, two teams are going to go. So it's not just going to be like, the rubbish team that goes back. It's going to be like a bit of a dogfight, maybe.
Oh, you ready for EG to come second bottom and don't
like
make it to playoff?
Final, like last day, they need to win, and they do, but then like the other NA team wins as well, or something like that. That's not happened last time. But.
Yeah.
So we have Bet Boom, Evil Geniuses, Gaming Gladiators, Hokori, OG, LGD, Royal Never Give Up, or RNG, Sonics, and Team Liquid.
It's a beastly group.
It is a. I think it's the stronger of the 2 groups. I mean, maybe that's just because it has LGD in it. But let's start. Where do you want to start? Should we just start with the top? Just go down. I mean, Bet Boom.
Yeah,
this is the other Eastern European team.
Dahak, Lol, Stack, Roger, Seneko. Those 2 are pretty veteran of the CIS scene. Dahak and Lol, I think, are pretty new to a tier 1 tournament.
Yeah,
I think they were exciting when I last watched them, which will have been Eastern European qualifier. I think they did pretty well in that tournament.
Mm-hmm. Quite a fun team.
Yeah, they feel like a fun team. I feel like they've done a bit of a wildcard team, perhaps.
Yeah, you'd expect them to come in that lower bracket spot, right? Yeah. I don't think you'd expect them to go home, and I don't think you'd expect them to come in the top 4.
So, that's a way to start. Who do you think will be bottom 2 in this group?
So I think
Hokuri and Sonics.
Yeah, I think Hokuri. I will be shocked if they come anywhere other than last.
That's the SA team where I don't know any of the players.
Yeah, so that's the SA team that qualified in. I would be shocked. Yeah, I would be shocked if they didn't come last. Having said that, they did win, the South American qualifier, and they had to come through Infamous and Tempest, who we saw play in the last chance. They didn't do well, but they didn't do terribly. But I still just don't think that they'll be up to it, and I just think they'll lose to too many teams.
Yeah.
The other one's interesting because this Sonic squad, Yuar, Quinn, Leslau, MSS Fata, they actually do well at TIs, right? Haven't they come upper bracket the last 2 TIs? The UR stack, they come upper bracket and then they lose to OG every year.
What were they called last TI? Quincy. Okay.
Quincy, yeah, and the one before that, they had a sponsorship. I can't remember what team it was, like TNC Predator or something.
So they were 9th to 12th last TI, which is the same category as Alliance and EG. They went to the lower bracket from Group B, and they beat Aston in BO1 and then lost 2-0 to OG. So, I mean, they were lower bracket in the groups last year. I feel like they're a lower bracket team.
Mm-hmm.
Can they escape the bottom 2? It's going to be, I think, just great.
I think it's going to be. I think there's a lot of teams in the mix for that second lower bracket spot. Because if you look at that,
Sonics,
EG, Sonics, RNG, Gaming Gladiators, Boom, and Bet Boom could all go. You don't think RNG?
Are you kidding me? Somnus, Chalice, Kaka, X Nova stack? No way.
But China just didn't perform at that last chance qualifier.
No, but RNG came through the regional quals.
Yeah, that's true.
And they boomed the regional quals.
They did boom it, yeah. They won like 3-0, yeah.
So they don't have the form of DPC, but it's the coming in off good form from the regional quals. Gaming Gladiators, although I rip on them a lot, they did do 10th in the DPC. They went well in the last minor tournament in Stockholm. I don't know. They should do well based off seasonal form, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny though. Do you think it's just Sonic's Hikori then? Are you locking in Sonic's Hikori?
I don't believe in Sonic's. Like the Quincy crew, I mean, I think they're good in NA, but then I feel like TI stage, you're against kind of global meta and good teams for once. I don't think they can. I don't feel like they're on the same hot streak as other tier 2 teams or tier 3 teams.
What about Boom and Bet Boom? Because I feel like they're kind of similar. I mean, they're both called Boom for a start, and they're both from sort of tier 2 regions. They're both from like, you know, tier 2 regions, and they're both not like absolute household names in those regions. They're not like your Spirits or your Fanatics.
Yeah. So Boom 7th in DBC ain't bad. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is
That's
good.
the Yopatch stack. And he's a sick mid, and they got Mushi as the coach.
And they won a major, didn't they, this year? Or they did really well at a major, that's why they're 7th.
Yeah, they must have done really well to get 7th. They won the C Tour, and then PGL Arlington finished something okay. You feel like they're going to be above the quality of a Bet Boom and a Sonics.
Yes, I think so.
Will they get top 4? They could. I think it'd be overperforming for them to get top 4, but I think they won't be scrapping. I think Bet Boom will be scrapping to stay up with Sonic, Sakori. Honestly, EG could be scrapping to stay up if they don't improve their form.
What's happening? Yeah, go on. Talk to me about EG. What's going on? What's your hopes? Would you take? You wouldn't though. It's. I was going to say, would you take lower bracket, but you can't because like you need to go for the. You need to risk it for the upper bracket. That's the only way.
My view is this year I've never had lower expectations. So I've been a big fan of in the last kind of 3-4 TIs. And there's always been a really good squad, and they've always had a lot of expectation. Even when they were going through the open quals and things like this, they had S4 and a lot of all these like sick players, which they still have a lot of, but they've not changed. We've done a full circle in terms of Fly coming back, so it's a similar squad to recent TIs. We've had a similar squad for it's been like a good year or two now, albeit with a bit of a intermediary phase with Ice or whatever it was. So I don't know, but given the form has been so bad, my expectations were low, but I think that could be a good thing of, okay, we finally don't have any expectation. We used to be these 3rd place Warriors where everyone thought we should be winning TI. We've got the quality, the players, the major grand final. We should be winning TI. We don't have any of that expectation this year, because they've just been kind of shit through DPC and scraped their way into TI. That could be a good thing. And that could give them that bit of looser, less pressure to perform really well. I think, obviously, if they go top 4, that is overachieving based off what we've seen in the last 9 months.
Yeah.
Can it happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. We've not seen them in action.
I was going to say, it could happen. If you're thinking, if we move on now to like teams you expect to be in the top 4,
yeah,
it definitely could be. I think I say LGD are like an absolute lock for top 4.
Yeah.
And then OG you would certainly expect to get top 4. And then, but it's possible they don't, but you would expect them to.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like Gaming Gladiators, I guess. RNG, you'd probably say. So you could definitely see. Oh, and Liquid too.
Oh, Liquid, I think I think the form is pushing top 4.
Coming in off the qualifier and like being on the buzz and like having the strats and playing officials, that is really strong. Yeah,
I say they might be figured out though, because they've been playing officials, but then obviously everyone's scrimming, so people are already trying to figure each other out. Or obviously, if you're in an actual official game, Liquid are bringing the number 1 drafts and number 1 strats. So it does feel like maybe they'll come into it and teams will be like, okay, we know what heroes you like, we know what playstyles you're going to do, we'll nullify it. So maybe Liquid, I think, definitely challenging for that 4th spot.
I think so. I think there's a lot of teams challenging for that 4th spot, because I think we put LGD to one side, LGD S tier, And then after that, honestly, like OG, their second DPC, but Misha got his visa, which is a bit rough. So,
GG go next. Oh, wow.
No, that probably, I think is good for them. I don't think, you're not withstanding all the TI, not sure about that. But Marco's less convinced. To be fair, like having Seb in the booth, that's got to be good.
Is
anyway.
he?
No. My meaning is if he had to play, he's not going to be in the booth.
I was going to say yeah. So who's it? It's Chuvash. It says his coach.
I think so. Yeah.
So does that? So you don't have Notel or Seb in the booth. You just have them in the hotel room being PMA.
I think no, not even. So they're really tight on who can go. So I've heard that neither of them are going, or just Notel's going. Seb's definitely not going.
Is he not? Did he say?
I don't think so. I heard they. I don't believe this. Do your independent research, listeners. But I heard that he's not there. I heard that they're like not involved in any way, and like maybe Notel's there.
That has to be just some mega bait. They're going to turn up on the grand stage.
He'll turn up. Seb will turn up in the final to lift the Aegis.
Yeah.
But so I think that given a lot of their form has been in with stand-ins, and also it's like a very young team, it's their first TI, right? It's literally their first TI. I don't think you can say, oh, they're second place DPC, like they're winning stuff, they're going to do well. They're a good team, don't get me wrong, but like they're not a lock for top 4. And then you've got RNG, who like coming off the back of China quals, 6 stack, they could definitely boom it. You wouldn't be surprised if they're like crush it. Yeah. Then you've got Liquid, who we just discussed. Then we've got EG, who like have potential. Then we've got Gaming Gladiators that like actually could do well. They're going to be fighting for top 4. I don't think there's a world where they don't have like RNG roof potential probably. But then there's also like Boom. It wouldn't be surprised if Boom's fighting for it, because they could surprise. So it really is all to play for, and that's why groups are so sick, because being upper bracket in TI versus being lower bracket is like insane difference. Yeah.
On the OG point, so just to kind of give a bit of anti-OG rhetoric, the DPC placing comes off like winning EU DPC, and the EU DPC was a bit of a calamity. Like you had your Secrets choking, Nigma collapsing, Liquid was shit, and you had like Gaming Gladiator second in DPC. So they got all that 3 points from EU's form being crap early days, but now thankfully we've got Secret and Liquid on form, and they've regained dignity by smashing last chance quals. Second, OG got crap ton of points from the Stockholm Minor, so they didn't even have to play China at that tournament. So they got some easy points when Gaming and TSM are choking on the main stage. So I agree that just because they came second DPC, I would be much more scared to see a Team Spirit.
Yeah, I think so too.
Who are third. I mean, Beast Coast fourth, I don't know how that's possible. But no offense to Beast Coast.
I don't know how are there 2 Peru stacks in the top 6? How's that possible?
How did that happen?
What did they do? Because it can't just be from DPC, because there's one SE. Oh no, there's 2 SEAs. There's 2 NAs, but both the NAs are really bad. Like they're low. So they must have done something. This Thunder Awaken and Beast Coast, they must have done something. I don't know what they've done, but they've done something.
They must have had, a couple of good placements. Asta, for example, I would be kind of more scared than OG, because like you say, with that experience factor, this OG stack is new to TI. I would have thought that the kind of Seb PMA could help balance that and give OG its kind of relaxed boost that other teams might not have. But if he's not actually at the event, I wonder if that'll make a difference mentality wise. But it's gonna be a good scrap for top 4, and I think it'll be a good scrap to stay up.
Yeah, definitely. And to answer your question, where are these points coming from? So Beast Coast and Thunder Awaken both got 385 points for coming 5th, 6th at the Stockholm Major. Oh, mine. No, major. ESL Stockholm major.
Yeah, the one without China. So
yeah, the one without China. The minor major.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of their points come from. So yeah, it's not reasonable that they're 4th and 6th. Let's finish or round off our discussion on Group A. I think we've covered every team pretty much, other than LGD, who we've just put to one side.
Yeah.
Is there a lot to say on this? I mean, is this like we'll wait and talk about this once we've seen them play, and we'll talk about whether they win the actual main event? Because I feel like everyone's just assuming you're going to see them first place. Is it a bust if they don't come first?
What, TI or the groups?
Groups. They could come second. I think it's reasonable for them to come second.
I think it's possible for them to come second. It wouldn't be crazy if OG somehow end up doing sick and going like,
or like RNG just come like tearing in or something.
Yeah, I reckon there'll be 2 teams that tear it, and then a third team that is one of these we spoke about, and then 4th place will be like razor thin margin. If LGD don't come top 2, I think that's a big disappointment for them. So. Or if they get top 2, I think they'll be like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah,
because you're allowed to drop games in the group. Like if they go 12, I don't know what the numbers will be, like 12-4, get second, they'll be like, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm. I do think it will be really telling. Yeah, exactly what you said. If they come like 3rd or 4th, then it's like suddenly they feel like they can lose these games
Drop
in the
too
upper
many
bracket.
Games. Yeah.
Because we've seen before, like especially TI9, OG like absolutely crushed the groups and then like never looked back. So it is indicative. It's not irrelevant. It's not like, oh, you just need to come top 4.
Yeah,
it is pretty like, obviously you want to be winning games, like obviously.
It's quite a lot of games because, like you say, another team, so another series. So we've got 9 best of 2s, so 18 games to play. I'm just gonna go. If we look at TI 11 group stage. IG 14-2, LGD 15-1. Bloody hell! But yeah, another 2 games to play. I mean, it's quite a lot of games for the group. So there'll be even more variation in what scores people end up with. So last year there was a lot of 10-6 in the top 4. So this year it might be like 11-7. Get shit.
It's nuts the way they're dealing with the extra team. So there's 5 games happening simultaneously. Usually there's 4. This year there's 5. So out of the first series of the day, I'm going to give you the pick of the bunch here. Where are your eyes? So we've got EG versus Sonics, which is I know where your eyes would be, even though that's like got Sonics, so it's like kind of embarrassing. Liquid versus RNG, that's a big game.
Oh, that sounds so good.
That's juicy. LGD Hikori, so we'll see if they can see how quick
Could
that
be a stomp down.
Could be. OG versus Boom, I think that'd be a cool series as well.
That'd be exciting.
And then also Gaming Gladiators versus Bet Boom. That's a momentum game right there.
That's a momentum game. That sets the scene for either team.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
There are a lot of good games. I would definitely choose TL RNG.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest clash.
Yeah. Also, like, we've been starved of like EU versus China like all year.
Yeah.
So like actually some big East versus West games to get stuck into. Yeah, that'd be sick. There are some juicy games like coming in as well. So LGD versus EG, and then EG versus OG.
Oh, so day 1 has got EG LGD. Oh yeah, and EG OG. Oh god, that is scary.
So if you're an EG fan, I was saying this on our group chat, but if you're an EG fan, you're playing Sonics, LGD, and OG. Like you need to if you need to come out of that, like if you come out of it 2-4, it's like okay. If you come out of it 3-3, that's great. But if you come out of it like if you 1-1 Sonics and then you lose OG LGD 2-0, that's 1-5, like you're coming out 1-5. That's really rough. Yeah. So we'll see about that. LGD, by the way, are playing Hikori, EG, and then Sonics, so they could be 6-0 after that. Lots of fun games. Interestingly, also usually when there's 4 games and 18 teams, it means that this is such a kind of hard point to explain. Every round of games, every team is playing. Usually in TI, there's always one team that isn't playing in a certain round because there's 18 teams. Sorry, there's 9 teams in a group and only 4 games happening at a time, so there's one team sitting out. But because there's 10 teams now and 5 games, there's no team ever sitting out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because you get to you could just watch your favourite team. Like, you could have a favourite team in Group A and a favourite team in Group B and just watch only their games if you wanted. Let's move on to Group B. And by the way, I'm going to put a full team group prediction in the Discord. So join the Discord, and I'll put the link in the description if you want to see some well, not really some brackets, some group predictions.
Are you going to do kind of game by game scoring, or are you just going to do an ordering final? Yeah. And if you're in the Discord already, please share. That'll be very fun. Actually, before we move on, I'm just gonna go to the end and mention the last series of Group A, because that is where it could be crunch time. Because realistically, it's gonna still have final placings are definitely going to be on the line still going into that last day with all these teams. So EG are playing Boom in the last series. That could be big. Yeah.
And then other than that, to be fair, I don't think there'll be too much consequential stuff. RNG versus OG, I think that could be big, but then it's not that big because you'd expect either OG or RNG to already have secured up a bracket. It's not going to be like you're both fighting for one spot.
I think there's a world where they're both on the edge of upper bracket.
Yeah, there's a world. Let's go to Group B then.
Yeah. Just a general point, it's interesting how you can have some groups where the distribution of wins sometimes is more bimodal, and in other groups where it's a bit more normal distributed. So you could have a group where it's the top 4 are all 12 wins, 6 losses, banging it, and loads of just shitters at the bottom. Or you get those groups where it's one LGD booms it, and then the next 5-6 teams have all got 9 wins, 7 losses, and it's tiebreaker territory. So so to that point, all it can take sometimes is one team, say a Bet Boon chokes, does crap, and is now feeding wins to teams that it shouldn't be, and then you get this weird high concentration of loads of 9-7s or something like that. I think last game it's gonna be. I think that RNG OG game is gonna be meaningful.
Yeah, I hope so. We want meaningful games.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Group B, I think it's a different situation because I don't think that Team Spirit, or indeed any of these teams, are a lock for first, second in the same way that LGD are.
Yeah.
So I think this group is kind of much more up for grabs across the whole board. We'll start in the same way that we did last time. So we've got Beast Coast, Entity, Fnatic, Talon, Asta, Secret, Spirit, Awaken, TSM, Tundra. So a lot of T's there.
Yeah, 7 T's. That's not a coincidence.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone was saying it's not a coincidence that there are 3 Booms in Group A and 7 T's in Group B. So it's Group Boom versus Group T.
Yeah.
Which teams are you looking at for bottom 2?
Wait, who's the third Boom? Bet Boom, Boom Esports. I have heard that as well about 3 Booms.
I've heard the 3 Booms. And looking at it
is there a player called Boom?
Oh, there's a player called Boom. Yeah, that's right. That must be it.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, sorry. So Group B, are we going bottom 2, did you say?
Yeah.
Hell, B. Who's the weakest there? Talon? SEA regional quals, 23 Savage stack.
They do have some players though. It's not
players.
Yeah, it's not the same as Sonics and Hikaru or whatever it is in the Group 1. It's not the same.
Fnatic, I mean, they often don't do amazing at TI, but you won't put them down as a bottom 2. No. East Coast and Thunder Awaken, I mean, they seem to be SA's best teams with high DPC points, so that they're capable of beating EU and C teams, so they shouldn't be like guaranteed bottom two. Entity had really strong performance in the Western Europe qualifiers. That's a really tough one to call.
That is a tough one to call. What about TSM? Your favourite Sableye stack?
That's a shout.
With the Brile, Moonmeander, Tomato.
A sad stack. I'm a big fan of Sableye. I think Sabley's...
I'm a big Moon fan.
A great guy. CJ. Those two... Fabulous. Anyway, TSM, yeah, I don't have much love for... They did well at the minor in Stockholm, got to the final and then choked. I reckon they could choke, to be honest. I reckon they could get bottom two. Yeah,
I think, for me, I do think Talon are my favourites for the bottom. They did come through Southeast Asia qualifiers, but I don't think that's that impressive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it weren't the strongest quals.
It was a pretty weak quals, right? They beat Polaris and T1.
They beat them 3-2 as well.
Yeah, close game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say Talon's my only pick for like, I'll be surprised if they're not in the bottom two, but then the others, I think it really could... The others, honestly, of all the other teams, I would put maybe Secret and Spirit aside and say any of these teams, and I'd actually would put Entity aside as well. In fact, I'll put Entity...
Just off form?
I think Entity, yeah, I think form, like, really, really good. I mean, they kind of monstered the EU quals.
They did.
So I think they've, like, found a nice groove. Playing really well.
So Entity, just for recap, beat Alliance 2-0 in the upper bracket of the quals, Secret 2-0, Liquid 2-0, and then Secret 3-0. So they went 5-0 against Secret in the quals, and 2-0 Liquid, who we've been raving about. Granted, through the last chance qualifiers, Secret and Liquid have upped their game, and it's like, it's that thing of the momentum's great. Is it good enough?
Yeah. Also, it's like, it's not a team. This Entity team's not one that's consistently been playing really high. It's like they really hit it over the quals, but now like every team's scrimming loads.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if like teams have scrimmed against them a lot, and now it's like a different landscape for them gameplay wise. Yeah. So I still rate them to do well, because you don't just like fluke. You don't just fluke not dropping a single map for all of quals. So I do rate them, but I'm not sure I rate them as much as some people. I mean, BSJ's picked them to win the whole tournament. Don't know if you saw that.
No.
Wow. So we'll see about that. But anyway, yeah, like any of these teams, I wouldn't be surprised if... I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Thunder Awaken went out. I'm not sure about this like Dark Mago, Matthew Pandaboo stack. I mean, they are good, and they have been around for a while. It's not like some random hodgepodge team. But still, I do actually rate Fnatic. You mentioned Fnatic. I think they'll do good. I think they'll do fine.
They always do solid.
Yeah.
I think at TI.
I think they're a good team. And I've seen them play against like EU teams and NA teams at some games, like, and done fine. Like in that tournament that we watched OG win, Fnatic was the team that gave them the most trouble, that really long game that OG won. So I think Fnatic are fine, and those players are really experienced now. I mean, Raven, Armel, Jabs, DJ, Januar, they've been around for years. This isn't like some like young... This isn't like the Talon team with lots of young players or players that haven't got much TI experience. So I think Fnatic will be alright. And then we've got... I was just going to say... Do you want to say something on Fnatic? Or
no.
Or whatever. Okay, I was just going to tee up these Western teams, because I feel like with Entity, who we've just spoken about, there's also Tundra and Secret, and I feel like they're all kind of... Tundra's at the bottom.
Yeah.
They're all these sort of slightly unknown quantities. Secret maybe a little bit less so, because they've just come through the last chance, but I feel like it's quite hard to gauge both Entity and Tundra's chances.
Yeah, I agree, and Secret, because Secret, okay, through the last chance quals, but that's beating teams which aren't good enough for TI. You are now in a different kettle of fish. And I agree. I think Entity boomed Western Europe quals, but again, it's just one tournament. Looking in the grand final, they had in game 1 versus game 2, 4 of the same 5 heroes. Morph Chen line up both times. It's like, I don't think that one quals is good enough to make us confident on Entity. And then Tundra as well. Yeah, they're decent in DPC, but largely because of the EU DPC being weak. And then they had a couple of good placements at these fake majors. I'm not convinced either. I think they're better than TSM.
I think they're
snaking 33. I think they should be better than TSM. I think TSM could be weird. Well, they surprise me every time I look at the team that they got 8 for DPC. I would put Tundra ahead of them.
I'd put them very similar. I don't think they're that much different.
Well, I think for the bottom 2, I agree with Talon. Okay, I'll put that down there. And then I think TSM, second bottom. And then I think... So it would be 8th to 3rd. 6 teams I feel like are going to be really close. Like these EU teams.
Both the Peru stacks.
And... Who does that leave on top? There's
Fnatic's going to be in that mix as well.
Fnatic's in the mix, and then I think on top you've got Asta and Spirit.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. Yeah, I think Asta and Spirit, and like maybe Secret's roof is high enough. I do think Entity's roof's high enough as well. Perhaps.
Do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I think they could do well. Like if you were going to say pick 3 teams that could be above the crowd. I would say I'd definitely pick Spirit, and then I would pick Asta, and then I probably would pick Entity out of the rest.
I think that 3rd, 4th place is going to be
so hard. Yeah,
I think there's going to be 6 teams contending for it.
Yeah,
which you could have like a day of tiebreakers.
Yeah. I'm not as down on TSM as you. I think really? I think either Beast Coast or Thunder Awaken will get knocked out. But then I don't know. You know, it could be TSM.
Thunder Awaken. I would give Beast Coast some credit, and
they usually do decent. Don't they?
They usually survive TI a little bit, but Thunder Awaken, Dark Mago. I feel like I never get. I don't know.
Is he like the SA Wonder Kid that's like 12 or something? Oh no, he's not. He's 23. He's old. Okay. Let's talk about Spirit. Is the back-to-back happening? How good is Spirit? Or is it really hard to tell?
So I was saying before the pod, Collapse has been booming in pubs. He's got a crazy win rate in his pubs. Running up to TI, which is cool. Actually, it's hard to tell. They've not played that much action, it feels, since last TI. So there was the Arlington Major, which they won. Well done. The Ryder Masters, that Saudi Arabia tournament, which had a massive prize pool, but I didn't really watch coverage of. Were they not at Stockholm for some reason? Oh, they were 9th, 12th at Stockholm. Did we even watch them in the live event?
I don't think so.
We just got knocked out too soon. Is that what happened? Is it?
So. I mean, they won they won Eastern Europe DPC, and then in the I can't even remember how the season worked. There's some final thing that they did, some regional final. I don't know if they've actually done well at any events, had they? They
won Arlington Major, but
they won Arlington.
They did rubbish at Stockholm. So.
Oh yeah, Arlington. They beat PSG LGD in the final. I mean, that is pretty. That's pretty big, to be fair. They 2-0'd. If you look at what they did at Arlington, so they 2-1 Outsiders, which is VP, and then 2-0 Asta, 2-0 LGD, and then 3-1 LGD.
Well, they got beat 2-0 LGD. Low bracket.
Yes, that's right. And then they beat Asta again.
They beat Asta, then beat LGD. Okay, I think this major, because it was in August, we kind of missed because of summer holiday stuff. Because I don't really remember watching any Arlington. Yeah, so beating LGD 3-1 in August is pretty strong. I think if doing that well at the last major is... Yeah, they've got good form. They won TI last year. They've obviously good players. I think, yeah, give them top 2.
Yeah,
in terms of winning TI again, well, they've got better chances than last TI, because last TI everyone thought they were a write-off. Are they certified most likely to win it? I wouldn't be confident to say that right now. I think you'll have to wait until groups finish.
Yeah, I do think they have a really good chance. Like, maybe not really good, but I do think they've got a good
best chance.
Yeah, I think so.
Really,
I think I'd put them on par with LGD. I just feel like I've seen it so many times from LGD. They'll win the group, yeah. Like, if you're making me bet on who's going to win group, it's like, yeah, I'm not even thinking for half a second. But if you're telling me, if you're asking me who's going to win the whole thing, I don't know. I just am not convinced with LGD. I feel like every year they get to the top 3 and then lose. It's like, is it just at some point it has to happen, or is it like?
Yeah, it has to happen. I think C is a good place for them because it's not Europe, but it's not China, which was a bit too much for them. They will get support in C, but not as much as China, but that was too much, and not as less. I mean, they get a lot of support in Europe and America, but I feel like C could be the place they do it.
I think, yeah, interesting. I mean, they obviously have a great chance because it's LGD and they always come top 3. I feel like the floor for them is top 3, so it's like they've got that just by itself. They have a great chance, but I do think Spirit have a really good chance also.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a believer.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know why. I feel like they had the run last TI, whereas this one, it's a different game when we reset and everyone knows who they are now. And will they have that run again? I don't think, though. I don't think they can. I guess it's a bit like OG, how in one TI, in the TIs they won them in very different ways.
Yeah. One
being that sluggish run and the next being dominant. I don't see Team Spirit coming into this tournament and having that dominant second TI the way OG did.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And I don't see them not in the same way, and then I don't see them having this kind of wonder run either. Obviously it's possible. Anyone can win.
Yeah, they removed Hauntos, right? What do you do?
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so we certainly like their chances in the groups. Then, do you put them a tier above everyone else, or do you think it's like Aster, Secret, these teams that we expect to be up there could very well come first, second, and then like Spirit come in like fourth or third?
No, it's possible. But I think, particularly given this Arlington major performance, I think Spirit will. To be fair on that one, I think they came top 4 groups, but they didn't smash the groups. I think they'll be. I reckon maybe what will happen is they'll be top 4. There'll be one team out of this middle pack which will do really well, and that could be an Astra, it could be a Secret, it could be a Tundra. One of those will do really well and join Spirit and
just Spirit.
Aster.
Oh, you rate Aster then?
Sorry, yeah. Put Aster at the top, Spirit at the second, and then one team out of this pack will also do really well and separate themselves. Like a Secret might separate themselves, or Tundra might separate themselves, or Fnatic. But I do think Spirit will be above that pack of middles.
Man, Aster. I feel like Aster is the ultimate script team, and what I mean by that is you'll never be surprised watching or following Aster. It's like the games won't surprise you, their performance in the groups won't surprise you, and then their performance in the main event won't surprise you. Like, they'll do well in groups, they'll come second. They'll like win their first upper bracket game, lose their second one, win like one or two series lower, and then get knocked out. It's just like it's guaranteed. It's like there's no way they're not going to do worse than that, and they're not going to do better than that. It's like it's just guaranteed that that's what's going to happen. Let's, before we wrap up, look at the day one for Group B as well. So the first games we have Secret versus Thunder Awaken, which will be an interesting one for Secret because like if you get off to another 2-0, it's like almost like you're right back to having full momentum. But if you go 1-1 against Thunder Awaken, it's suddenly like, oh, last chance qualifiers mean nothing, and you're just like back in the pack. There's also Fnatic Team Spirit, and if there's one team that like will make it weird against Team Spirit, it'll be Fnatic. So that actually I think will be a 6 series. Fnatic Team Spirit, I'd be well up for that. Entity Beast Coast. That's kind of an interesting one because it kind of is like Beast Coast is definitely prime territory for Entity to prove themselves and be like, yeah, we're the hottest team in EU right now. But Beast Coast also, like, they're not a pushover, so if it could easily go 1-1 and then it's suddenly like, or both of those teams are in a fight. TSM versus Talon, this is both of Marco's picks for bottom 2, so this is don't bother watching this one.
Oh.
And then we've got Tundra Asta, which will be quite fun as well, but I don't know if I can recommend watching an Asta game. I just feel like I'm not sure. Tundra games are a bit weird. Or Tundra can be a weird team with weird picks.
Yeah.
Then Asta's like very solid, I feel like. So I don't know.
Monet, Ori, XXS, Baboka. Who's that? +5.
Not sure.
Don't know. But yeah, these China, like, solid Chinese players. Yeah.
What's your pick out of those ones? The
I feel like I know Asta might be like sound boring, but I feel like the Asta Tundra could be really interesting.
Could be close games for sure. Could be like quite long, interesting close games.
Yeah, I think it could be close and interesting rather than explosive or exciting. Because I'd be interested to see how it plays out. East, West, strategies, I'm sure will have no overlap between the teams, things like this. So it'd be interesting to see whose strategies and meta comes out on top between those two. I think TSM Talon could be like messy slogfest, shitfest.
TSM Talon could be one of the ones that like gets you one of the predictions in the game predictions for like longest, shortest, most assists, most
just who knows what will go on there. And then the rest of the teams actually don't have any interest in like these.
Fnatic Spirit, that's gonna be a sick game.
I don't know. I'm just not
sure.
A bit salty about Team Spirit winning TI and Evil Geniuses not. So I'm not really bothered about Team Spirit as a team. And then same with Secret, like Secret TA. I'm like, am I bothered watching Nisha and Crystallis kind of dismantle TA?
I'm also like not that interested in watching Secret because I've just watched loads of them in Last Chance, so it's like I'm not actually that bothered. I want to see like teams I haven't seen for ages.
Yeah, I way enjoyed watching Liquids, whereas the Secret, I feel like I've always really not been into Puppy's drafts. I feel like he picks heroes that I just do not vibe with. Like, I'm gonna have to try and find some Secret. On the Last Chance
this stack of Secret, I agree. I think previous stacks, like when they had Zai and stuff, I think it was more fun. Like when they had like Yaps or Zai, you could definitely get into, because that 3-4 was so fun. Yaps or Zai was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
But now they don't have Yaps or Zai anymore, and like now they've got Rezo, Zayak, and I feel like it's become less weird and like interesting and amazing, and it's just become like a bit more niche-y. And a bit more like fine, like Zayak's playing some like like cool, that's really effective, but it's like I'm not vibing with it. Whereas back in the day, it's like they'd have like Zai Yaps or like Rubik Mars or like Rubik Spirit Breaker, and it's like doing sick stuff. And it's like this is sick.
They would have ineffective, but kind of fun and likable stuff, but now they've got effective, but you can't vibe with it. Is the what I get from Secret. So like let's have a look at Last Chance qualifier. I think Chen drafts snooze. Crystallis plays Monkey all the time. It's like I can't be arsed with Monkey 1. Primal Beast, I have no respect for any team that picks Primal Beast. And then what about other games?
Crystallis playing in the grand finals. Crystallis plays Luna like both games. But like. Undying as well. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong team. Forget that. I'm looking at VP
playing Luna. But I mean,
Ramsey's playing Luna.
So Crystallis played Monkey, and
I do like a Zayak Nyx. Actually, I'll put that out there. I enjoyed watching Nyx.
Yeah, the first game's not too bad, just with a sniper and Bat Rider. But even then, it's like Bat Rider, no respect. against T1 they've got Ench and Beastmaster, and they've in one game, and then they've got Chen and Lycan in the other. It's like, how do you really root for a team that picks Beastmaster or Lycan? It's tough. I feel like Puppy loves the macro gameplay, like drafts which don't rely on spellcasting, but rely on movement and kind of units. Whereas with the Liquid, watching them was so... I loved it because it was all spells. It was like, what do you call it, layering spells all the time, setting up the Pudge hooks, or getting these like 2-3 enemy combos with whatever spells they had to layer. It was, to me, way more... I could get way behind it, like disruptor gameplay rather than Chen gameplay. I'd way rather see that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Rezo does like a Primal Beast, I feel like. They'll happily slap that on him. So.
Yeah. And then we'll get OG playing like, ATF. Painful.
It's interesting because like he ATF doesn't want to play Primal Beast. Because he can't... It's not like a 1.
He's not hitting creeps, yeah.
Yeah, so he wants to play like 1. He wants to play like Razor or like Underlord, where he can just farm with Q and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Is this the patch for him? Because I feel like the 3's transitioning, it seems like a little bit away from the farming, because now you're seeing like Undying, Primal Beast, like
Tide, Enigma,
which is not really... They're like big team fighters. They're not just like buy BKB. Amal wants to get BKB refresher. That's like what he wants. So I don't know.
Well, then maybe OG will bring a new style where rather than all of this mass fighting, there'll be...
True.
Maybe they'll still play this kind of 2-3 core draft of farming more than trying to force fights. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
That's the exciting thing, right? We've just seen like a subpar selection of teams.
Yeah.
Play the meta. And now we've got even more teams, like and a number that's higher. We've got 20 teams, and they're the premium teams. So who knows? You know, it could just be like we get in tomorrow and like Marcy's ignored in the first draft, and you're like, okay, cool, new world.
It's so intense because there's so many games to dissect.
So
like when you wake up in the morning and it's 40 games.
Yeah.
It's like what? Like,
I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I am gonna watch some games in full, but I'm gonna
choose.
I'm gonna choose. Yeah, I'll probably watch, because it's funny because I actually have no plans tomorrow. I've got like one minor plan tomorrow morning, but that's only gonna take me like an hour and a half.
So to watch a game of Dota.
No, watching a game of Dota is the default. That's like the all day plan, and then so I'll probably watch like some games in full, and then I'll do my best to like noob from UA. The one thing that is cool is every single game will have highlights. You're not relying on noob from UA, because in last chance qualifier at least every single game had highlights on YouTube.
Did Valve do that?
I think PGL did it.
Oh, PGL.
But the other thing with that is it's quite I don't know. You almost need long highlights and short highlights, because I can't devote 10 minutes to every single game, because that means if it goes 3 games, that's half an hour. That's quite long. But anyway, we'll see.
We need a podcast channel to do daily recaps of all the events. And
get 20 biggest listeners, like the most devoted listeners. We assign them all one team to watch all the games, and then we do like a daily report on that team's games in the Discord.
Yeah,
that's what we do if we were a real pod.
Yeah, you could do a lot. There's a lot of content potential out there. But yeah.
Well, there you go. I think that's everything. That's the groups. That's the hype. Marco's right. I have played 3 games of Tiny, and I won all 3, and it was really good fun. And the next 3 more games of Dota I play, I'm going to be picking Tiny. And all
did you go tree toss?
So it's so sick. I actually love it. So you go mid.
Hate.
You go just normal mid stuff. You go treads, and then you go blink, and then you just rush it. No bracer, no stick, no nothing. Bottle, treads, blink straight up. So then you're just doing tiny things. You're like a monster. You know, blow up potential's insane. Then you go Echo Saber to keep that blow up potential going. The blink, avatar, bang bang, throw the stick. That's so much damage, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you go, if you need it, you go BKB. So in 2 of the games I went BKB, and in one of them I skipped. And then once you've done, and the BKB just allows you to, essentially, actually, what I found it did mostly was allow you to, like, yes, do the blow up potential, but more so, like, initiate really hard. Like, you're not waiting for something to happen. You actually just go in first, toss back, like a lot of toss backs, because you can use BKB to escape. To let you escape and then do another combo. Do you know what I mean? Like, you do a big combo BKB and then you run out of the fight, wait for blink, and then you do another one. A BKB, you might need BKB to do that. Anyway, then you disable Echo Saber to build Ags. So you get Ags for a K less because you disassemble Echo. Mm-hmm. And then once you've got Ags, you have crazy damage, and then obviously you go Daedalus. So then by the time your combo's fallen off, you've got this absolutely redonk Daedalus tree volley, which is like, I was playing against like some sniper lineup, and it's just blink into trees, throw volley, and sniper's not looking at his hero, and you just like two-shot him with trees. It's like,
cool. I've seen some tinies in this last chance qualifier blow up heroes in because it crits off 2 of the hits and it's over. Yeah. I don't like tree. It seems fun, but I don't like watching tree toss.
We talked about this on previous majors. It's so dumb that like the hero just gets this.
Yeah,
like it just it's nuts.
Yeah, I don't like it. So
it also means late game you can go rapier as well, and then it really is like just a joke. If you get rapier, you crit off like literally 2. You're killing like any hero. They're not going to be able to get out of it. So, and also the other thing is, it's the thing that's really sick is it lets you do even cooler combos. So what you do is you blink Avatos and then immediately tree throw, and like 2 of the tree throws hit them while they're in the air. So like they can't even press Ghost Scepter for it.
Yeah.
And if you ever like can do your combo without blinking, then you can like do your combo and blink to load of trees and throw them. I mean, there's just lots of potential. Good fun stuff.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't come out, but I imagine it will.
Probably will, yeah. Anyway, that's been this preview pod for the groups. We'll be back with Adam, with everyone, to preview the main event. And until then, enjoy the Dota. Plenty of it.